Watch the pencil and the.
The card. Makes it look like one of the sold out plays.
Don't ask me.
I hope this, actually
Don't ask me
ends
to
up
do the
on
test
me.
because they have Alzheimer's.
Okay.
It is easy to push certain biblical responsibilities off until a later date. But what if that later date never came? If you have not heard of Jesus' parable to the rich man and Lazarus, it is a story about a rich man who had more than enough food but would not feed the beggar named Lazarus, who just wanted crumbs from his table. When Lazarus and the rich man died, we are told that Lazarus went to heaven and the rich man went to Hades. The rich man begged and begged for Lazarus to be sent to warn his brothers about the torment they would receive in the afterlife if they did not change. But Jesus told him no, because they had Moses and the prophets to listen to. This story has many different messages. First, there is the popular love your neighbor message. What this story mainly focuses on, however, is the idea of evangelism from hell. These two messages are what I will be focusing on from this parable. The idea of loving your neighbors seems simple enough in theory, but actually living your life the way Jesus has commanded us to proves to be more challenging. When Lazarus came begging for scraps from the rich man's table, he was relying on the fact that we are told to show kindness to those less fortunate than us, because in Matthew 25:40 it states that whatever you do for the least of your brothers and sisters, you do for me. When the rich man repeatedly denied his neighborly love to Lazarus, he sealed his fate and was sent to hell. The rich man had many worldly possessions and still was too greedy to let a man eat the crumbs from his table. In the story, it tells of dogs that came and licked his sores, emphasizing how cruel the rich man was, being in his deliberate actions not to help Lazarus. While neighborly love is a part of this parable, it is not the whole. Once the rich man was in hell, he cried out to Jesus, asking him if Lazarus could go back to warn his brothers of what was to come if they did not change their ways. There is no doubt that the rich man was regretting what he had done on earth. Jesus tells the man that Lazarus would not be allowed to evangelize to his brothers because they have already heard the message and denied it. Jesus tells the rich man that because they have not listened to the prophets and Moses, that even if he were to send Lazarus back, that they would not believe him. Jesus' point is that the people shouldn't need miracles and people being raised from the dead to convince them to follow Jesus, but that the Bible is enough to bring people to salvation. This story has many applications to our daily life and many instructions on how we should live it. It is very clear that Jesus told us to take care of one another, including the sick and the poor. The idea of the story is role reversal. After death, Lazarus became the wealthy man, and the rich man was poor and helpless. Loving your neighbor and evangelizing from hell are two major points in this parable that are applicable to our daily lives. It is important to remember that everyone we turn away now is just like we are turning away Jesus. Providing for those less fortunate than us is not a suggestion, it is a requirement for living a Christian life. It would be a sad thing to end up like the rich man, always in regret of the way he lived his life on earth. So we need to remember to be on the lookout for everyday men like Lazarus.
Oh. This time you get pan around so I can, well.
Going for